Good evening, everyone, and welcome here to this amazing rec center. It is thank you everybody for joining us tonight for this another informational session on the bond referendum. We're excited to have you here and appreciate, of course, your interest in learning more about the bond propositions. At this time, we're going to hear from our city leadership and also department heads who will provide detailed explanations of each propositions. And then right after that, after all of the propositions and all the presentations have been made, then anyone is able to ask any questions after that. But we want to make sure that we get all the presentations done so that we all have enough time to do so as well. So without further ado, I would ask first, I'll introduce our mayor of the city of Laredo, Dr. Victor Di Trevino, to share a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. Victor Trevino, Mayor for the City of Laredo. Glad to see all the people here at this town hall meeting. Glad to see the people here because this is your bond where your money is going to be spent if the propositions are approved by the public. So please ask the important questions, and if you feel, you need to feel confident with the answers. As mayor, I have felt that we are accountable to the community, and irrespective of the needs, we have to have community support. So with that in mind, we'll pass the mic to the presenters, and we'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I would like to invite our city manager, Mr. Joseph Knapp, to start us off before we move into all the presentations.
See if I can get it back to the slideshow too. Okay. Thank you all for coming out and hearing in on this important issue. I am Joe Nebb. I'm Laredo City Manager. I've been here for 2 years now, going on to my 3rd year. One thing that we've talked about with the mayor and the council throughout this administration is that that we wanted to, when I first got here the first year, we spent a lot of time listening, learning, and trying to find out because, you know, our directorship is 3.4 years of service, average service. So we're actually a young crowd for all of our directors, all of our interests. The council, they have 2 terms that they're able to serve as elected officials, and so that all plays into how we rebuild this entire system. So I'm happy to be here to talk about this and talk about the 2025 bond referendum. Our goal is to provide transparent, factual information on the propositions before you, not to tell you how to vote, but to empower your discussion and your decisions with knowledge. So let's begin with the basics. This referendum includes 4 key propositions. They total $17 million, each one addressing critical needs within the community. When we started this conversation almost 9 months ago, it started with the potential of a propositions of over 800 million because we have a lot of different needs in a growing community of our size, and we're 260 population. We have the bridges. We have all this influx of activity. We're behind on transportation. We're behind on a lot of our structures and everything. And so we put this together through the process, and we came up with these 4 propositions. Public safety at $271 million. That includes police and fire. And you'll hear a little bit about why these are important and what we're trying to accomplish with those. Public health, $70 million. Streets and transportation at $65 million, and affordable housing at $10 million. These projects were developed with an open and inclusive process. A citizen bond committee comprising 28 community members met for 3 months to assess all of the needs of the city and explore the options. From there, the city council then reviewed them and they tightened up that whole conversation to approve the final package. And again, this is not the city's, this is the city stating that these are important to us. This is not the city saying this is the only way to get it done. But this is the most appropriate way for the public to look at that and say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't agree within that process. This is not a top-down decision, and it is a shared civic process built on consensus. The stuff I'm going to talk a little bit about with this is I get to kind of, we keep building these public forums and actually expanding out exactly what we're trying to talk about. So you're going to hear a little bit from me about all of the little what-if scenarios that have been out there on social media, what people are saying as well too, because we want to make sure that you understand how we got to today. And I started with, of course, the conversation with the 28-member Blue Ribbon Committee. We talk about the 9-member elected officials saying, nope, we need to tighten that up a little bit farther, and we came up with the package that we had. So with all those projects developed through that, from there, as they went down through that. Okay, I think I covered up. I'm back on slides. So, all right, let me talk a little bit about our financial strength and our debt capacity. Laredo maintains a stable bond ratings due to strong fiscal policies and the conservative debt practices. There's a sheet over here on the finance table to look at, and we have a AA rating from S&P, and we have an AA2 for Moody's. And if you look at where we're at on the sheet, and you can barely see it here, there's only 2 rankings above that. We are fiscally responsible. We are capable of paying our debt, and we take all the finances seriously with that. But I wanted to make sure you saw some of that there. We have an assessed value within the city of $24.33 billion. Laredo has a debt capacity of $2.43 billion. That's our ability. That's our ability to pay back the legal debt. If we were to take in debt, we have the ability to borrow $2.4 billion and still make our payments and still cover all of our expenses. The city's current general obligation date is $186.63 million, less than $200 million of a $2.4 billion capacity. I want to make sure I drive that home with everybody, because when we look at the proposed $417 million in bonds, it remains well within our borrowing limits. It preserves the flexibility and fiscal responsibility. So this is something to consider when you're looking at this matter. See some cameras, so I wasn't going to change until we're actually good to. All right. This is something we haven't talked a lot about. In the state of Texas, and actually in the city of Laredo, there are tax ceilings out there for certain classes of our population. If you are over the age of 65 and you have filed for an exemption with the Webb County Appraisal District, you have a tax ceiling. Your taxes do not go up with this bond referendum. You are protected from that cost, so you get the benefits of the improvements, but you don't have to pay any more than the tax ceiling is there. Same thing goes for disabled. And whether you're a disabled vet, because there's some criteria out there for the disabled vets, but also the disabilities. But I wanted to make sure that we start talking a little bit about this, because the tax ceilings are there for those that have put into the system as long as they have, or have the capability of doing that. So I wanted to make sure I shared that tax ceiling bit. You do have to sign up for it. So you have to go out and actually sign up for the ability to be recognized for that 65 or over exemption or the disabled exemption. But I'm sure somebody in the city can actually help direct you to where you have to go, but it's the Webb County Appraisal District. All right, let's go into the maintenance operations cost, because everybody starts talking about this on social media, and you know, everything you see on Facebook is real and true, right? It isn't, but my love of my children is. So, but okay. But on the maintenance and operations side, Laredo typically sees in the general fund $13.5 million of new M&O costs annually. So if you understand that, so we are a growing community, and our needs continue to grow. And with that, we cover the costs of today's expenses, and then we try to grow. And so we may add staff, we may add buildings, we may add resources, we may add a new program coming out of somewhere, and then that's what we call the additional on the M&O. Every year, on average, we've averaged $13.5 million in new maintenance and operations costs within our general fund. The bond that is projected to introduce up to $5 million annually, it's $18 million over a 5-year window. But $5 million we have to add into that M&O, and that's about 25% of that number there. So when everybody's asking, well, how are we going to be able to afford to man it, or how are we going to be able to afford to do it, a lot of the work that you'll hear from our departments is actually replacement. The police station is actually a replacement. We're expanding some of the pieces of it because of the services we're trying to provide, but there's not really as much M&O. I will say that the fire department has the most M&O because we're trying to add stations that meet the standards of our service for the community. We're working on 3 stations. This has 1 station built into it. We already have another station in the regular system that we have, and we're working through that. And there's M&O that's based upon police and fire. The health department's the other one that has a little bit of M&O within there as well too, because we're trying to expand out the programs to the public as well too. I would say that the street improvements, because there is really no additional M&O cost, it's doing the same work that we have been doing or contracting out that work, whether it be a reconstruction of the streets or a rehabilitation of the streets. So really that one, there is not any additional M&O that's coming in for the street department. The last one is, of course, is the Hamilton Hotel, the affordable housing piece. There really is no additional costs coming in for the Hamilton Hotel for the M&O. What this is that this is the improving building that has been loved to death and not reinvested in for the affordable housing, and you'll hear all about exactly how many people we have in there. We also know within the Hamilton Hotel, once we have improved the stuff that is not working correctly there, once we have brought that building up to the historical value that it is and added all those pieces to it, we can actually adjust the rents, we can adjust the downstairs where the businesses are at, we can adjust the rents, and it will pay for itself from that point. The problem is that building has been loved to death and it has not been invested in for a number of years, and we're trying to correct that. That building hadn't been in the city's hands until last year, and so it's just coming back to us in this kind of condition. We had given it out to a housing authority and they weren't able to keep up with it. They brought it back to us, and now we're trying to make that adjustment for that. There's 163, I think, families within that property. I will say that with that, because the bonds will be issued in phases, these impacts are not all day one, and that's why I'm saying $5 million on average across the board. There won't be a lot of M&O in the first year that the bond goes, because we have to go borrow the money, then we have to build the improvements within it, and then we can kind of move forward with actually putting the manpower, putting the resources within that. And so it'll come out in phases. So those impacts, we'll be able to absorb the M&O, I believe, within our current budgeting structure. It's just a commitment that we're going to do on the front side rather than wait till the budget and say, here's how we're going to grow. Many of the projects will actually reduce M&O burdens. One of the things in here is like with streets. If we do reconstruction of the streets, then there is less damage of potholes and actually breaking down of the roads. When we go in and we do the mill and resurface, that buys us time, essentially. We take the surface off, we replace the surface, and it becomes good for another time. By the way, our street life is about 30 years in Laredo. Some streets are failing earlier, some are doing better, but our work, we really believe that if we can continue to work on the streets that are in bad shape within the city, it'll actually have a long-term benefit to the city in those expenses. And so we want to make sure that's there. Public safety investments may lower overtime costs by increasing staff and facility access. You'll hear a little bit about that. If we had those 3 stations on board, we would not have to compensate for those areas that are not fully protected by having a station there. We're running people from other stations in order to make sure that everybody's covered. Kudos to the fire department. We have an ISO rating of 1, which is the best rating out there, and we want to keep it. And that's the reason why we're looking with the fire safety side, is that we need to get these stations on board. We need to get them there so that we can keep our standards high for that. We actually believe when we increase the number of personnel we have, and even on the police department side, as we do the adjustments in the police department side, we will see a 5 to 15% reduction in overtime expenses. And those numbers, we believe it can adjust, but you know, the challenge, and this is the conversation I have with the chiefs all the time, if a phone call comes in, we are responding regardless of the cost. I want to make sure everybody understands it's not a cost related there. but we want to make sure that it means something. And if we can expand it out, if we can have enough people to respond at the right time, then we can keep our ISO rating and we can make sure that the people are safe. Police and fire are both on that level for that. But we believe that we can actually lower some of the overtime costs with that. All right, this question came up. Why include vehicles? Vehicles, and I'll use the police department vehicles, I'll pick on them the most because their vehicles are on the road. Those cars are on the road continuously for patrol. We get a life expectancy out of a vehicle of about 5 years, and they're hitting 100,000 miles within that 5-year window. So why are we putting vehicles that have a 5-year shelf life in a 20-year bond? And this is why I wanted to make sure I explained this. Our financial advisors are here they can kind of cover some of this more. But if you look at the tiered financial structure, vehicles have a 5 to 7 year lifespan. The technology and radio have 7 to 10 years. And our buildings and infrastructure have about a 15 to 20 year life cycle. These vehicles are bundled into it. And like I said, I've already mentioned about the debt being taken out in phases as well too and tiered out. What'll happen is that any of the vehicles in there, we will essentially pay that portion of the bond off in a shorter window of time. Don't consider it's all a 20-year bond completely out there. There are parameters within the financial system that as we hit those, there's milestones, and as we hit those, these things kind of fall off. We also want to make sure that the vehicles are in there because we need those vehicles in order to operate the assets and the resources that we have. And so just make sure that you understand that this is how everybody does their financing for this type of a structure. It is not a 20-year bond for a 5-year vehicle. It is a 5-year bond within a 20-year bond for a 5-year vehicle. I wanted to make sure I drive that home a little bit. Why not wait? Why now? And there was some conversations when the council was looking at this. These needs that we're asking about, when you hear about some of them, it took time to get to where we're at. These are not new issues. They've been documented for the years and they are only growing. Delaying construction increases costs due to inflation, labor, supply chain instability. That is all that has been happening. Bonds will be issued in a series, allowing flexibility and responsiveness to the economic conditions. Taking action now lets Laredo stay ahead of the growth and avoid the crisis level infrastructure gaps that we believe that we're dealing with a little bit. I want to make sure that I mention on something here I think was in here. When this question came up, there was a talk about the tariffs on the bridges. Because if the tariffs are enacted, that'll have an impact on the traffic that crosses the bridges. And if you don't know, one fee to cross the bridge, 50% of that comes into the general fund and helps offset the general fund taxes, the property taxes we use in the general fund for police, fire, streets, and parks. And then 50% stays with the bridge system. It is our opinion that because the bridges are such a blessing and a curse to our communities, it should help contribute within that cycle. And this is how Laredo has thought for ever since they put together their stuff. I understand that the tariffs are a fear for the economic certainty of what happens at the bridges. The challenge is that if the bridges traffic goes down, we still have the issues of not enough fire stations based upon our population. We still have not enough police information. We still have the problems in health. We still have the problems in community development. We can't look the other way and think everything's going to be all right. We have to look at these things as they come up. And I will tell you that the problems exist today, and if we do nothing, they'll be here tomorrow. They'll just cost us more as we walk through that. Delaying action will not reduce the need, it'll just raise the price. And so that's the thing I wanted to make sure that everybody understands. There is not a good time. There is not a better time. We have to deal with these things as they come up, when they come up. And so that's where I talk on this thing. I did want to bring up the one thing on this. As we had one person say it, and this was on the positive side, the problem exists today, and it will still be here tomorrow if we don't do something. And that was a conversation that happened. So be aware that that's what we're asking the public to kind of consider with that. We will phase the issuance out so we can respond strategically. will lock in the project momentum before conditions worsen. So we are watching the tariffs. We are watching everything that is happening out there to our bridges. They are our lifeblood. They are the piece that we want to make sure operates very well. But we want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. But the challenge is that the tariffs are a bit higher level issue than what we have. These needs of what we're sharing is for our community, not for DC, not for Austin. Why isn't water included in this bond? I've heard this. We just got through a boil water notice in October of last year, and it was one, and I will say that the mayor and the city council took that very seriously within that structure. In the last 2 years for water, we've actually got about $150 million of bonds out there. We are repositioning those bonds to take care of the needs that we discovered. If you go back even farther than that, 5 years ago, I believe was the worst boil water notice the city had. There were 63 days that we were impacted with no water. The issue at that time, and this is what the council at that time did, is they invested heavily into the plants. The problem for the boil water notices came from the water out of the plants. So the council at that time invested a lot of millions of dollars within the plants and updated the plants. In my mind, what we should have done maybe a little bit differently is that we did not go into the infrastructure, which was what caused the boil water notice last year, is that it was caused by aging infrastructure. It was caused by illegal connections. We did not focus on that as much because we were focused so heavily on making sure our plants operated right that we did not pay attention to the aging infrastructure. But what I'm trying to tell you is that this bond is the general fund. This bond is for police. This bond is for fire. This bond is for streets. This bond can be for parks and recreation. This bond can be for health department. This bond can be for community development. We have other sources out there that we don't lean on our property taxes. The water and sewer fund, the solid waste fund are the same way. They're called enterprise funds, which are driven by user fees within that. We have a structure in place to protect every one of those systems as well too. The general fund is the one where we need your help with. All right. This came up, and you know, hindsight being 2020, there's claims of past mismanagement. I sometimes fall into that. I am the 8th city manager in 8 years for the city of Laredo. 8 city managers in 8 years. I'm essentially the chief administrative officer. I am to make sure that all the services, all the vision that the mayor and the council do, it is my job to enact all that vision, and all of my predecessors there as well too. I spent a little time thinking about this, and I guess I get frustrated every once in a while because hindsight being 2020, you know, you can look back and say, oh man, if we would have done this better back then I wouldn't have to deal with it now. The challenge for me is that I wasn't back then. I don't know what they were going through. I really truly believe that people try to do the best job that they can do, and if they're given that tools, it's just the nature of the past. It's just the nature of being able to look back and say, oh, I wish they would have done that differently. And so I really get frustrated with these things with the armchair quarterbacks. What I will tell you is that this council, this administration has said, we're not kicking that can down the road. We're not kicking the can. We're going to look at everything. We're going to lean on our public. We're going to lean on our citizens. We're going to lean on our people, and we're going to make sure that you are aware of what is happening within your organization, your structure with that. We can't think that we can have a non-transparent conversation and get everybody to buy on and walk through that. And I think that's why we're dealing with this in this way. We can't make up for the past. All we can do is make sure that we take care of today because we're the stewards of today, and we have to make sure that we build it better for tomorrow. And I think those are the things that I want to make sure that Laredo understands is that everybody, we have 2,700 employees within the city. Every one of them are trying to do the best job they can. I'm a true believer that if they have the resources, they can even do better. They're not just taking care of the people. It's not just a job to them because they live here as well too. This is family that is taking care of this stuff, and I want to make sure you understand that. The mayor and the council have said, and I love to call them an aggressive group because they're not afraid to tackle anything, and that is a good place to be because they can help us make sure that we're doing the best job possible. Sometimes it's hard conversations, you know, and I know that last year we ended up having the conversation about removing the allowances from the salaries of the mayor and council. And, you know, why didn't that go to the public? Why wasn't that voted on in that way as well too? There are some things that you have elected the people to do. We didn't look at it as a salary increase. When it was presented by legal, it was the separation of the allowances as part of the salary within there. That didn't change the opinions of all the comments that get made out there and how they twist the information. What we are trying to do, and this is where the mayor and the council, when we went through our charter amendments, you know, today we could put those questions out to the public if that's what the elected officials wanted to do. We can put anything out to the public and say, what do you think about that? I would argue that before that election, before the charter amendments were out there, a lot of things that had to be inherently done by the council on their own. And if you, I'm just going to mention about the mayor with him sitting here as well too. He asked for a lot of different things to be placed into this whole election as well too. We didn't get them all prepared for that, but I would expect that we'll keep having those conversations because he wants to know how the public feels about these things. And this bond referendum is no different from that right now. I mean, we can always say, well, they should have done it this way last year, or they should have done it this way the year before that. We could have done it a lot different with that. What I'm telling you is that the entire city of Laredo is here saying, this is important, please listen to us, please consider this as we move forward. And I want to make sure that you have a voice within that decision. Final note, why are we here today? The session is not about persuading you to support or oppose the bond propositions. I wanted to give you a little bit of my heart, a little bit of what I deal with when I'm working with the whole city of Laredo, all the citizens, all of the employees, the elected officials and everything. I wanted to have you see a little bit of what I walk through to try to make sure that we are doing the best for our people. I look at Laredo as a home. I count myself as an adopted son. My family's an adopted family of Laredo. And I believe that's very important to note because I want Laredo to succeed. And I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to take care of that. Our goal is for clarity and transparency. We want to make sure that you are provided with all the facts of each one of these bond referendums. We want to make sure you understand what they mean, what's included, and what's not included. We want you to know how it can affect you or not at all. Again, some of us that are reaching that age of 65 or above, you've done your work. Let us carry the ball from that point forward. We respect your voice and your vote. The bond referendum is your opportunity to decide what kind of a future we build together. Hopefully you notice that I take my job very seriously. I will tell you that every employee in here, every elected official in here, they take their job seriously. Laredo is going to do the right thing and try to move this stuff forward. What we're asking the citizens to do is listen to us, hear what we're trying to accomplish, and as you make your decision, understand that there are alternatives out there for this. The bond referendum is what all of the other cities actually utilize in order to move themselves forward. And we have a growth, we're growing in Laredo faster than we can manage. And so we have to start doing things a little bit better. I know that I've said it before, I think at the budget workshop, Laredo is not a small town. And it has a lot of small town tendencies. We all know that. It's generational. It's got a lot of that. We're a growing city. We're 260,000 population. We are the #1 port of entry for all the product coming over from Mexico. We defend that. We preach about that. We try to make sure that everybody understands that we are different from all those other communities out there. So I really hope as you listened in on this stuff, I'm happy to talk a little bit more about my vision and everything else, but know that I support every one of these departments there. The departments that didn't make it, we will be having future conversations because we have needs in every one of our areas. We continue to keep growing. And so I just wanted to leave you with that. I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to let you guys get to hearing the information that is the most important. That's from each one of our departments. So thank you. Let me know how I can help. Reach out, let me know, and we'll make sure that we can answer any other questions. We can make sure that you understand exactly what we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neb. And now we're going to continue with the presentations. We're going to start with the Budget and Financial Services Director, Jesus Esparza, and Francisco Mata to
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Francisco Mata, your Finance Director. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick recap of what Mr. Neb just talked about, so that give you the opportunity to get those departments with those propositions before you so that they can give you the presentations, and hopefully we can have participation from you guys. So with that said, what is a bond referendum? A bond referendum is a public vote that authorizes the city to borrow money by issuing bonds to finance specific public projects. Voter approval is required before any bond can be issued. Will this raise my taxes? Well, bond approvals may impact the portion of the property taxes, tax rate that funds debt service. The city has structured the proposals to manage the financial impacts with its long-term planning. Again, will this raise my taxes? Mr. Neb talked about those exemptions. If you are exempt from, have homestead exemptions, like myself, I'm a veteran, you won't be impacted by those taxes. Here's what it looks like, a table. We've done the math. We also have those presented here in our table. We kind of presented what it looks like, the impact for a $100,000 valuation. Right under that, we have a 150, 200. We did it in increments of 250. I'm sorry, $50,000 increments, and you can see what the impact on each of those 4 propositions is going to be. So, the bottom spreadsheet takes you all the way to 300,000. This next slide gives you a rendition of 350,000 all the way up to 700,000. Now, we are working on a tool that we are hopefully are going to launch tomorrow. We just needed to make sure it clears our council, but you will be able to go online, and for your situation, specific situation, you can put in those valuations. It'll give you the answer more specific that goes along with your situation. Now, how were the proposed projects selected? So projects were prioritized based on community input from the committees. These committees were selected by your council members, and we did infrastructure assessments by departmental needs. Once those selections were selected, the city council had the opportunity to review and approve the propositions before they were placed on the ballot. Now, what happens if the bond is not approved? Well, if voters don't approve the bond proposition, the city will not be authorized to issue bonds for those specific projects. Now, we do have alternative funding options that we're working on, and we will have to reprioritization of projects. Can bond funds be used for something else? The answer is no. So the word on the street, salaries, no. We can't use it for salaries. We cannot use it for other projects than what you guys are voting on. So whatever you're voting on, that's what we're limited. It's against the law. So state law prohibits us to use bond monies for anything else. How will the city ensure the money is spent properly? Well, if approved, bond spending will be set up in a separate fund and subject to financial oversight through audits, reporting, and tracking. When would projects begin if approved? Project timelines vary by type and complexity. If approved, planning and design will begin shortly after the election, with construction scheduled according to the priority and funding availability. Now, Mr. Neb mentioned of the life of those assets, vehicles, 5 to 7 years, all the way to the buildings. That's how we will structure. We will bundle these assets, and that's how we will go out for funding. And not everything is going to go out in that first year. It's a 5-year program how we'll launch these fundings. Why bonds? Although it's been a while since we have not issued a bond referendum, the city has issued this mechanism in the past to build roads, parks, libraries, and other infrastructures like the one you're in right now. Did you know that the city of Laredo has successfully held and approved 3 bond elections throughout its history? First one was in 1986, there was another one in 1989, and the most recent one was in 1993. And here's what they looked like. In 1986 bond election, it was a $16 million bond election. In 1989, the bond election was for $15.5 million, and this is what it funded. And the last one in 1993, the total bond amount authorized was $27.5. Now, those of you might be wondering, have these bonds been paid off? And the answer is yes. We don't owe these bonds anymore. And that is the short presentation I have for you. We will get to our propositions. Yes, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mata, for your presentation. We're going to start with the bond, the actual propositions. So there's 4 of them. The first one is Proposition A, which encompasses the public safety, and so we wanted to start with the Laredo Fire Department with Fire Chief Guillermo Hurd. If he can step up. He went outside. That's fine. I'm going to look for his here real quick. Where is his? No, they were from last time. Just put it in here. This one? No. This one? I don't think it's that one. That's a video. Oh. There it is. Okay, perfect. Let's go with police because he's not here. So, okay. We're just gonna give the fire department a few minutes, and we're gonna start with the Laredo Police Department, Assistant Chief Ricardo Gonzalez.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Ricardo Gonzalez, Laredo Police Department Assistant Chief. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight and showing interest in this very interesting funding mechanism that's going to help the city along in outfitting some of the needs that outfitting changes in our profession. I will start with sorry about that. One thing that I want everybody to understand, that everything that we do at the Laredo Police Department, we have the best interests of the community in mind. With that said, the safety of you and your families drives everything that we do. In this slide, you'll see the different items that impact the referendum. For Proposition 8, the total amount for Proposition 8 is a little bit over 271 million. The portion belonging to the police department items is 185.8 million. As you can see, there's 5 different items. I'm gonna go into each one and explain or provide information as to the reason that they're here. The first one is police facilities. Right now, the police department is operating in a facility that was built back in 1996. The facility is 67,000 square feet. Throughout the years, in order to outfit or be able to operate, we moved into an auxiliary building, which is just north of us. It's 23,000 square feet. A little bit shy of 100,000 square feet. And that is to keep up with the growth that we've had. As it's been mentioned, the city's grown by leaps and bounds. So that's really what's been done in order to keep up with that growth. One thing that we fail to mention sometimes is not only have we been having to keep up with that growth, we've also have to keep up with the changes in our profession. Our profession now more than ever requires a lot of technology behind it. The expectation or what is required sometimes in order to prove a case requires a lot of forensic or scientific evidence. Labs have grown. The way we manage evidence, that has grown as well. Technology is huge. We have a real-time command center which augments a lot of our operations, makes us a lot more efficient in what we do. It is not by mistake that we become one of the safest cities, not only in the state, but in the nation. And these are many of the background, what happens behind the scenes of that support of the initial contact that you have out in the field by one of our officers. That's what's been becoming how we keep up with this demand. Today, even though we sit in 90,000 square feet, it's not enough. This is where the proposition or the item for the police facilities comes in. It'll be approximately a little bit over 150,000 square feet. With that, it will sit on 50 acres of land. And this is to also provide enough parking space and other amenities that the public requires for records and many of the services that we require. Mr. Neb was talking about how some of the changes or the demand has been not only for our officers and our personnel, is for people that come in, not only for these services, but also people that we arrest and how we process that. We have officers sometimes waiting on a busy night because there's not enough room to go into the secure area to be able to process individuals. That becomes a liability as well. An officer safety issue and so many issues behind it. This item is listed, it's projected at 110 million. These are some of the pictures of the existing conditions of some of these buildings. On the top, you'll see that auxiliary building that we moved into. It was built 75 years ago, and these are the conditions that we found that building. Obviously, there's a lot of cost involved to be able to keep it up to standard, and yet it's still a challenge. And it, as you all know, with many older buildings that require a lot of attention. The bottom you see our current building and how crowded it is and the problem that brings, and that's only an example of the many of the things that we do and the problems that it creates. Another item is the training facility, which we don't have right now. Right now we're training in borrowed buildings such as a church, LC, schools, abandoned schools. Even though we make it work, you demand more than that. You demand your officers to have the latest technology, the latest equipment, the latest training. We keep acquiring more tools for the job, life-saving tools. All that requires certification. We need room. We require space for us to be able to perform these jobs, to master these skills. Mr. Knepp talked about what we do now and the future, and that sustainability. That is key component of what we need to discuss and think about, not only what's happening now, but what's gonna happen tomorrow, and how quickly we can lose ground on being one of the safest cities, not having all that the city demands because we're not thinking properly into how we prepare for the future. One of those things is our fleet management. We continuously cycle through vehicles because it's a big component of the service that we provide. Not only is it from the station and the services after the fact, but in the moment, the emergency, having the officers when they're needed and their response time. With that comes a lot of equipment and so forth, and that's what you'll see in the cycling, the end of life. It was mentioned that not everything's gonna be at once. It'll be programmed as far as how we phase them in, and we dispose of older units. And this is the scheduling and cycling of these vehicles that we're listing on the proposition, on the referendum. Another item is surveillance cameras for our parks. This line item, the 4 million, will provide approximately 100 cameras that are gonna augment the current infrastructure that we have in parks throughout the city. Even though you do see our parks with cameras, some of those are outdated, there's not enough. Some have grown, and this will be able to keep up with that demand and the growth of not only different parks, but outfitting that the replacement of those older cameras. Another item that is listed on this proposition or in this referendum is the Survivor Facility Center. This building will be placed in an existing LPD facility, and is gonna be exclusive to provide services for survivors of sexual assaults and domestic violence. Currently, right now, the services that we provide for victims of sexual assault and domestic violence is very fragmented, to the point that if somebody suffers from a sexual assault, they have to wait hours at a hospital if there is a nurse available to provide the service they require for the forensic services. If they're not available, they're asked to not shower and wait for days, sometimes hours, days, till there's somebody available. The alternative is for them to go out of town, hours away. Nearest will be San Antonio or the Valley. We're re-victimizing sometimes in some cases, the way we treat these victims. A survivor center, not only would it house or concentrate all of our services in one place, but it would also partner up with other stakeholders, other services, such as the forensics, the SANE nurses, social workers, DA's office, everything that will provide those services for the victims of these crimes in order to help them facilitate or process them through the criminal justice system, which can be very complicated, especially after having gone through one of these very violent crimes. Currently, the Laredo Police Department processed last year 83 of these SANE exams. A lot of these SANE exams were not done locally or they waited. With that, I conclude my presentation, and we'll be available back there for any questions. We also welcome those that do not speak Spanish. Buenas noches. Esperamos que cualquier persona que necesite información de la presentación en español, estamos dispuestos y disponibles para contestar esas preguntas. Gracias.
Thank you to our police department. Now we'll allow our Laredo Police Department to present. I'm sorry, fire, you're right. It's because I was closing the presentation.
It's okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Guillermo Hurd, Fire Chief and Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of Laredo. It's my pleasure coming to you and showing you what the assessments that we've done and what we're proposing in the bond coming up in the upcoming election is. To start is, before I go to that first slide, I wanted to just advise or tell the public what the mission and the vision of our Laredo Fire Department is. It's no different from any other fire department in the United States or in the world. It's save lives and conserve property. You know, they have different ways of saying it, but that is what our mission and vision is: to go out there, be ready for duty, save lives, and conserve property, and exactly in that order. Here's a quick overview of our infrastructure. Currently, we have 15 fire stations throughout the city, strategically placed in order for us to respond to each area, in order for us to get there within the recommended time, in order for us to save lives and conserve property. One of those stations is only at the airport. All the other ones, all the other 14 stations are strategically placed the north, the west, central, and the south. Within those stations, every one of those 14 fire stations has an engine. Most of those fire stations also have an ambulance. The majority of our calls are medical calls. And that's no different from any large fire department in the United States. Currently, we've been approved for 469 firefighters. We're in the process of 2 academies currently right now, and we're also in the process of hiring for our next fire stations that we have projected. The services that we provide on the operations side is, and the one that is most known is fire suppression, when we go to a call and turn off the fires. Also, the other one is the majority of our calls are medical services. We are either the 5th or 6th largest provider in the city. When I talk about providers in the city, I'm talking about the largest provider of medical care, LMC, doctors, Gateway. That's telling you that we are up there with them. The majority, we respond to a lot of calls in South Laredo and West Laredo. Why? There's a lack of medical doctors here. They're medical health professionals, nurse practitioners, nurses. So what do a lot of people do? They call 911. But we're there to serve. So we provide a valuable service to the community. Also, we provide hazardous material response, rescue response, and airport response. Out of the 15 fire stations that I mentioned, since 2003, we have only added 1 fire station for our response time. You hear a lot in the news, and you hear a lot of our council and our mayor saying that we are the largest land port. We are one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. But since then, since 2003, we've annexed a little bit more than 30 square miles, about close to 50% of what we were before. And we've only added 1 fire station, and that fire station is over there by Celito Lindo. Apart from that, we have remodeled, we have relocated, but our analysis have showed that the analysis shows that strategically placing fire stations will improve our response time. What does that mean to the everyday citizen here? So there are some areas in the cities that have a fire station. We did analyze that there are certain areas, especially in the areas of growth, North Laredo, South Laredo, and West Laredo, specifically by the Mines Road area, that we need fire stations. And what does that mean for the people in the central part of the city? Because I've been asked, Chief, what about me? I have a fire station. I have a fire station that is 2 to 3 blocks from here. So currently what happens right now is, in order for us to respond to those times is, a station covers another station. So those areas where we respond, one station calls and it calls and responds. So that takes that station that is covering in your area and responding to another one. Essentially, you take from Peter to pay Paul. So what we've analyzed is that we have to put strategic fire stations at different areas in order to improve and continue carrying out our mission and vision, which is save lives and conserve property. And I know I keep saying that, but it is true. That is the mission. Everybody that wears this uniform, that's what we do. We're public servants. We signed up for this because we love what we do, but there are certain things that we've been assessed that shows how do we continue doing that is by providing my firefighters what what we've seen that they can improve to provide that service. So what is the solution? Build new fire stations in the growing areas, which, as I mentioned, 1 in the south, 1 in the north. And the bond referendum, what we've identified is a fire station here by the Mines Road area, by the Green Ranch area. That's close to where Texas Highway 84 is going to meet Mines Road. That's where we identified a strategically placed fire station will be able to provide emergency care, fire, EMS, hazmat response to the people of this area and who's ever traveling through this area. These are the areas that 2 years ago, we hired a public engineer to do an assessment. It was recommended from bigger cities. He came in, Mr. Peach came in and did an assessment of the city and identified the different areas where we can strategically place fire stations and fire trucks in order to continue responding with the appropriate time. One in the Buena Vista area, which is in South Laredo. We're in the process of building that station. One in north by mile marker 15, by the Unitec area, and one by the Mines Road and Green Ranch area. It was also identified that we need a fire truck in the Loop 20 area by Tammy U, and that is also another fire truck, that is another assessment that we have in our bond referendum where we're also making the request to the public. The majority of our requests from the Laredo Fire, the majority of what we have analyzed from the fire department are facilities. We've also analyzed that we need to improve the current facilities that we need. Most of those facilities that we've identified in the bond referendum are older buildings. When those buildings were built, like the one in Zacatecas, it was built in 1978. I was 1 year old when that fire station was built. It was not built to house. It has 3 emergency vehicles right now. It was only built to house 1 emergency vehicles. We make it work. We continue going and providing that service to the community. The station that is by the Bartlett station, which is by Nixon, which is the busiest station, that's another one. Also the Mines Road area, the station that's right here by Mines Road, as you leave this community right here, that's Station 2. That's another one that's been identified too, that we've put different units. It was built for 2 units, and currently we have 3 emergency units that respond from that station. The training center, and also the Pinto Valle station. So a lot of those are from this area, Station 9, Station 13, and the training center. Also, we've identified that the stations by San Bernardo, Maher, and the fire administration building also we've analyzed also that there's improvement to be made to those stations. Currently, we provide about 45,000 emergency responses to the community. 85 of those calls are EMS calls, like I mentioned. As you see ambulances. If you're in the central part of the city, you see ambulances day in and all throughout the day. They're busy, but they're providing that essential service to the community. One of the key factors identified is response time. I keep mentioning that. It's the response time. It's 3 to 5 minutes. We're supposed to, every time a caller calls 911, and from the minute that we receive that call to we're at the door of that patient or at turning off that fire, it's supposed to be between 3 to 5 minutes. It makes it more challenging in those areas where we've outgrown and what I've identified in South Laredo, North Laredo, West Laredo, over here by Mines Road area. As you can tell here, it shows a little graph that shows, and I can tell you is the Mines Road area. In order for us, the ambulance here, that's the fire truck that is right here, if you get a call by the Faskin Elementary School, it's gonna get there in 5 to 6 minutes. Now, if you get a call at Green Ranch, it's gonna get there about 10 to 12 minutes. That is, response is key for fire and EMS services. So this is what we identified, and this is what we've identified in our bond. One of the important things that Mr. Nebb mentioned is ISO. ISO, what does ISO mean? Specifically, ISO means it's a rating that's given to the fire department. All the United States fire departments, it's from 10 to 1. In short, it says 1 is the highest, 10 is the poorest. 1 is saying how fast the fire department responds and can conserve property. We were at a 2, and we recently reached number 1. That is saying that your community is safe. In case, if you ever have the need, and we will, hopefully never, but we will respond, we're gonna be there quick in order to turn off the fire or any type of emergency. But in order to maintain that one, we have in the assessment and the bond for us to continue providing that high service. And as I mentioned, the majority of our request is facilities, vehicles, and equipment. And before I conclude, one of the things that I want to mention is on the facilities. One of the things I've been asked as a chief before is, Chief, why is it so expensive? Why does it, and I know right now, currently, we've identified that a fire station costs about $700 a square foot. And I've been told by residents is, right now, houses are probably from $300, $400, or $500 a square foot. Why is it so much more expensive to build a fire station? A fire station is just not an office. A fire station is the home for our firefighters. Currently, right now, the biggest risk that firefighters have is cancer, PTSD, and heart disease. When I was doing the presentation to the bond committee, one of the things what was mentioned is the risk of our firefighters. I mentioned that our firefighters, the mortality has improved, and it recently went up from 59 to 62. And one of the members, I think misheard me, and she's like, "Oh, 62 is not a bad age for firefighters to retire." I corrected her and I said, "No," I said, "that's mortality." I said, "Our firefighters, that is the average age for firefighters to pass away." So firefighters were currently right now retire at 50 in order for them to enjoy their retirement. Studies have shown that changes done to the fire stations, if they're done in a strategic way, where you have a decontamination area, greatly reduces cancer risks, heart disease. The lighting in our fire stations, the way the bedrooms are placed, reduces PTSD. The things that we respond to are not normal, but that's what we signed up for. Both everyone that wears the blue uniform and everyone that wears the white uniform too. We responded for this, but I want to make sure that we take care of the people that take care of everybody else. And that is why the requests are being made in order to continue providing that high-level service for our fire department too. That concludes our presentation. If there's any questions for me, I'll be there at the booth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief. And we have 3 more propositions. The next proposition is Proposition B, which encompasses public health. And we have Laredo Public Health Director, Dr. Richard Chamberlain.
Sure. Good evening once again. My name is Dr. Dr. Richard Chamberlain. I am your Public Health Director for the City of Laredo. We appreciate you all joining us here this evening, and we appreciate your patience as well as we're getting through the evening. I did want to start off by providing information on our public health services and community impact from this proposition. And just to give you all some background and what is public health works to protect and improve the health of populations through services such as disease prevention, health education, and environmental monitoring. These services are designed to improve health and safety of all residents, regardless of age, income, and background. Similar to other essential services like police, fire, and public infrastructure, public health programs contribute to the overall function and resilience of communities, specifically our community. I'd like to provide you a little bit of history and our current status of our public health infrastructure. The Laredo Health Department began in 1935, and that was enacted by the Laredo City Council, where we started our health office. Our current facility, designed in the 1960s, was opened in 1970 with a population that they were serving at that time of 69,000. In 2025, our operation encompasses more than 40 programs and services. 3 programs are off-site, leasing office spaces, services, and we do service more than 5,000 patients via our primary care system. And our current population, just as we reflected back on the 1970 number, we are now at the 257,602 as per the 2023 census status. Regarding our local healthcare access, it was just mentioned a few short moments ago by Chief Hurd that we are a medically underserved community. And yes, in fact, we are. We do have one doctor per every 3,290 residents. So that is a pretty taxing practice for our physicians here in town. We do have a 90-day time window for primary care at Laredo Public Health. And our mental health services are at full capacity, and we do not have availability for additional clients at Laredo Public Health. We do have 5 exam rooms for all of our primary care services at Laredo Public Health, and our chronic disease management and education programs are capped out at the 250 patients due to space and staffing constraints. Regarding our environmental health demands, I wanted to point out that our registered environmental health specialists in the year of 2000 were 6, and in 2025 we are now 7, with our food establishments in 2000 at 1,800 have grown to more than 2,200 as of today. What is public health's role in our community? Public health services operate daily to monitor health risks, provide preventative programs, and foster safe environments. These activities may help reduce risk and widespread health issues and improve overall community well-being. These include disease investigation and outbreak response, environmental monitoring, supports mother, children, and families through prenatal care, screenings, and education and nutrition. We ensure emergency preparedness, creating response plans for natural disasters, pandemics, and other public health crises. And of course, we do want to manage and help prevent chronic disease in our community. The cost of healthcare. Chronic diseases significantly contribute to healthcare expenses in Laredo and across the United States. And so just to break it down for the group so that we can understand the difference between direct costs and indirect costs, direct expenses are doctor's visits, hospital stays, medication and treatments, and indirect expenses consist of missed work days, lost productivity, and long-term disability. From an analysis that we did at Laredo Public Health regarding the indirect and direct costs for diabetes, hypertension, and obesity, it was estimated that the city of Laredo expenses $1.2 billion on these 3 chronic diseases. Public health services. The bond will also support service enhancements aimed at improving health outcomes in our primary care arena, which I just mentioned a few short minutes ago about our current position, expanded immunization programs, maternal and child health, and our mental health services. The $70 million public health bond referendum proposition, what is it for? The proposed bond proceeds for public health infrastructure spread across fiscal years 27, which is calendar year 27 and 28, to FY30, which is calendar year 30 and 31. Is designed to expand and modernize Laredo Public Health's healthcare and public health services through new construction, remodeling, and updated clinical spaces. These investments focus on long-term functionality, community healthcare access, and preparedness. The following outlines the potential individual level impacts based on the project's components. Here is a timeline of where Laredo Public Health would begin its work. In FY27, we would initiate the design and survey element, which would include the clinical research center at 15,000 square feet and the 3rd floor and renovation of our existing campus. We move on to our clinical and service and research center construction in FY28, the 15,000 square foot space at an estimated cost of $13.2 million. Moving into FY29 would be the construction and remodel or the renovation of our existing floor plan, floors 1 and 2, and the addition of a 3rd floor to help us decongest and expand. Ultimately, the projects would come to an end or a close or finish in FY30 for a total cost, an estimated cost of $70.8 million. Healthcare services and infrastructure benefits. integrated healthcare access. The new facility will provide centralized access to essential services including seeing a doctor, immunizations, prenatal care, health screenings, mental health services, and chronic disease management. We would have dedicated counseling and mental health treatment areas, which will increase appointment availability and reduce times for services related to anxiety, depression, and related conditions. Within our maternal and child health improvement, new infrastructure will enable the expansion of newborn screenings, prenatal care, and parenting education programs and contribute to early development support. Within our prevention and early detection realm, with additional space and staffing, the facility will broaden its preventative care efforts, offering screenings and education for chronic illnesses such as diabetes, hypertension, and infectious diseases. And I want to make sure that everybody is well aware that public health is for everyone. Public health is for everyone in this room and beyond. And lastly, the proximity and efficiency, which improves our infrastructure, will bring preventative services closer to residents, potentially reducing the reliance of emergency care and supporting better health outcomes. In conclusion, our public health programs are designed to help prevent illnesses, promote healthy behaviors, and support community-wide health efforts. For residents, greater access to preventative care reduces reliance on emergency care and support long-term health management. For employers, a healthier population may support a more sustainable and productive workforce. For the community, enhanced public health infrastructure contributes to improved health outcomes and safer environments. And we ask everybody to stay informed about the specific components of our proposed projects and how they aim to meet public health demands. And lastly, familiarity with public health operations can help residents make informed decisions and contribute to overall community wellness. I thank you for your time. I will be standing on standby in the back of the room for any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chamberlain. Now we go to Proposition C. We have this one and one more, and it's with Assistant City Manager and City Engineer, Mr. Ramon Chavez, on street improvements.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here today. We're going to be talking about Proposition C, which focuses on pavement maintenance and preservation program. And these are some of the facts that we have related to our existing roadway infrastructure. We currently have about 856 miles of existing infrastructure as it relates to roadways, out of which 735 miles, or 86%, are residential. The rest, being 14%, consist of major arterials and industrial collectors. And before we have an interactive map that the public is able to utilize, if I can click on this thing. Okay. Do it off. So you can click on this interactive map, which is available on our website, and you can easily navigate to see what our existing roadway infrastructure looks like throughout the entire city. And that map is available online through LaredoBond2025.com. Going back to some of the important information, in 2019, you're gonna hear me say the term PCI. And when I mention PCI, I'm talking about the Pavement Condition Index. This PCI, or Pavement Condition Index, was generated through a study and a consultant that we hired, an engineering firm, that did this for us in 2019. So looking at these numbers, in 2019, our average PCI was 73.12. And I will let you know what that number means on my next slide. But that number has dropped here recently. In 2024, our average PCI came down to 61.80. And that reason being that we currently, over the last 4 or 5 years, we have invested between $4 and $5 million into our payment program, which, if you can see on the right hand of the screen, that allowed for that PCI to drop dramatically there from 73 to 61. I consider this a very important slide because this slide explains in its entirety what the program will consist of. Again, looking at the PCI numbers, any PCI from 86 to 100 is considered good. As you move along, you get 56 to 70 being a pavement condition or a street being in fair condition, all the way to serious, which goes from 0 to 40. And the other thing that I want to mention on this is our roadway system, we are able to preserve and maintain if we invest on it early on. Okay, and if we invest on it early on, you can see that a residential street under preservation, it will cost you around $68,000 to preserve a residential street, 1 mile of it. Okay, the longer you wait to invest on our infrastructure, the more it's going to cost. So as we move along into the rehabilitation numbers, getting into the milling and overlay, a mile of residential street to mill, which will mean removing the actual surface of it, will cost you around $332,000. To reconstruct it completely, we're looking at approximately $1.4 million. And that's for residential. As you get into the industrial and arterials, which are wider and have a thicker pavement structure, it's more money that you have to invest in them. Looking at, for example, an industrial collector, if you invest on preservation, you're looking at $148,000 per mile. As you move along that number, and if you don't maintain it and you don't preserve it, those numbers can go up to $2.7 million for an industrial collector. Based on the numbers that we are looking for Proposition C and the $16.5 million, it is recommended that we invest 30% of it into preservation. And that's why we break down these numbers into investing $19.5 million into preservation and the additional $45 million into rehabilitation or reconstruction. And these are the number of miles that we would be able to preserve or reconstruct with those monies. Now, we are doing this because other cities do it as well, okay? So we have 856 miles of existing roadway, and we annually invest between $4 and $5 million into them. The city of San Antonio, which has, of course, 4,200 miles of street infrastructure, they invest $90 million annually and $20 million bond money. City of El Paso, they have 1,100 linear miles of roadway, and they invest $10 million into it annually. Corpus Christi recently, in November of 2024, they passed a bond for $89.5 million that went into street improvements and drainage improvements. So this is a quick overview of what all this information we were able to get together. Okay, what is it? Is the 2025 bond proposal, which includes the $65 million to manage our pavement program. Okay, and this funding will address the declining street conditions across all council districts. Okay, so this is not just going to happen on a certain area, it's going to be throughout the districts. Okay, and we will look at doing preservation and reconstruction depending on the condition based on that PCI information data that we have. Okay, funding breakdown for this proposition, like it was mentioned earlier, $19.5 million will go into preservation and $45.5 million will go into rehabilitation or reconstruction. The citywide benefits, of course, this will improve our PCI score, which dropped, like I mentioned earlier, from 73 to 61.8. Okay, and we estimate improvements of over 115 lane miles of roadway improvements over the 5 years across the 5 years. Residential streets being 86% of our network, we want our residents to have safe and good streets throughout our city. Why does it matter? Because it matters because 41% of our streets fall below the fair score that we have on the PCI. Okay, this goes along with our Viva Laredo comprehensive plan, which we are following as it relates to infrastructure. It targets investment based on need, capacity, and condition. It also ensures aging infrastructure does not hinder residential or commercial developments. At the same time, it enhances a smoother, safer travel for all modes of transportation. And this is just a snapshot that we took of our mapping system that is online and available to the public through the link that we provided, where we're focusing on this area in District 7 of the city. Okay, you can see those notable reds there. Okay, being in a failed condition. Okay, and so focusing on those roads, looking at the Mines Road area, you can see all that Delwood Park, the Lorry Farms, the Quail Creek, the El Portal, and Killam Industrial Centers, okay, and along with the Riverbank roads. So looking at a snapshot, you can see how all that red starts to clutter all in the Mines Road area. And we want to make sure that that is important because it's information that you need to be aware of, okay? How do we correlate this? Okay, we looked at these districts, and more than likely, District 7 is to receive the largest share of rehabilitation dollars due to the concentration of failed streets. And we feel that that's important, and also that some of those failing streets are because we have a lot of the trucking industry that travels around this area. And so that's why we feel that this is important, and we have the data to support it as well. I want to thank you for listening to our presentation, and we'll be available for any questions in our booth.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. And our last proposition is Proposition D, which is the Community Development Department. Is it this one? Yes, correct.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marcela Cervantes. I'm the Assistant Director for the Department of Community Development. Thank you for joining us today. I'll be presenting on Proposition D for the Housing Affordable Project, specifically for the Hamilton Hotel. This 165-unit development features two interconnected historic buildings from 1920 located in Laredo Central Business District. The building was originally a hotel converted into apartments in 2000 and are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The complex includes a restaurant, 3 commercial units, a laundromat, a business office, kitchen, dining area, and a residential patio. If approved, Proposition D would allocate funding to maintain 165 units designated for low-income senior citizens. The average income for seniors in the area is $943 per month per individual and $1,415 per month for couples. Current rental rates at the Hamilton, which includes the water and electricity, are significantly lower than the market rents. For example, a studio apartment rents for $641 compared to the market rate of $795. We currently have around the city, we have approximately 300 seniors on waiting lists. The total estimated population of 24,436 senior individuals residing in Laredo. The rehabilitation of the property will focus on several key objectives to improve functionality and sustainability. Accessibility enhancements, including ADA compliant features, will ensure that all residents can navigate the complex comfortably. Building improvements will update critical systems and address safety hazards. As the property is listed as the National Register of Historic Places, historic preservation efforts will be made to maintain the cultural significance. Additionally, long-term sustainability will be prioritized by upgrading the property energy efficiency, reducing operational costs, and ensuring that the apartments remain affordable and well-maintained for the years to come. So here's a few pictures of what we're proposing to do. For example, the elevator replacement, the chiller ramp replacement, the entrance doors. As well as plumbing improvements, window replacement, and of course, accessibility. If approved, the bond would allocate $10 million for the planning, design, and construction. The proposed project is estimated to take approximately 36 months to complete, broken down into several phases: the planning assessment, the design completion, procurement process, and of course, contract award, and construction phase, followed by project closeout. The project focuses on improving housing quality by upgrading systems and enhancing safety, ensuring comfortable and secure living conditions for elderly residents. In line with Viva Laredo's commitment to promote accessibility, the rehabilitation will include accessibility modifications to ensure seniors can navigate the complex. Thank you.
That concludes our presentation portion. If we have any questions, anyone has any questions about any of the presentations or any of the bonds or the propositions, I'm sorry, this is the time to do so. Just raise your hand or come up to the microphone and we'll get someone to get to you. Go ahead, sir. Can you get the mic, Isa? We'll give you the mic, yeah. Should be up.
Tested.
Yes.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rodolfo de Hoyos
Buenas tardes.
y estoy aquí porque sí tengo muchas preguntas. Estuve hablando con el mayor y le expresé varias de ellas. Un comentario sobre algo de lo que comentaron aquí. Ciudadanos de Laredo no somos pesimistas, somos realistas, porque el momento que estamos viviendo ahorita es un momento difícil. La economía no está como ha estado años anteriores. Los aranceles nos van a perjudicar bastante. Somos la entrada principal, ¿verdad?, del tráfico de trailers. Eso es de lo que vive la ciudad de Laredo y es donde nos está pegando. Tengo un trabajo cancelado de una de las compañías por más de $700,000. ¿Por qué? Porque no tienen seguridad. Entonces no podemos tener sueños guajiros. Tenemos que ser realistas. Yo creo que este año no es el año correcto para hacer todo esto, ¿verdad? Ahora, todo lo que se ha presentado, lo único que me está diciendo que tenemos muchos años en que las autoridades no han hecho lo que tienen que hacer, porque todo esto necesita reparaciones y adiciones por las condiciones en que está, porque no se ha hecho la inversión año con año, ¿verdad? Hay muchas cosas que debieron hacerse y si no se hicieron hay que investigar por qué no se hicieron. O sea, esa gente que manipuló el dinero va a quedar así con los impuestos de nosotros. Se ven muy bonitas las cifras de que $14, $15, pero no se le dice al pueblo cuánto es por el año. Estamos hablando de un promedio de 450 más por año. La gente que vive al día a día con el salario mínimo va a tener $450 más de taxas, cuando a lo mejor ahorita los overtimes no existen. Estamos hablando de sueños muy guajiros, ¿verdad? Ahora, lo que mencionan sobre lo del aumento, claro que es algo que la ciudad tiene que saber. Es dinero de los ciudadanos, ¿verdad? Entonces, en la misma información decía que son $20,000 de allowance que tiene cada City Council para usar en su área, de los cuales no se pide recibo. Es la única compañía que yo entiendo que para gastos no hay que entregar recibos. Es dinero de nosotros, que tenemos que saber cómo se gasta, ¿verdad? Porque es muy bonito. Yo vivo por Internacional. Cansado de hablar a la policía por situaciones peligrosas que hay en la ciudad. Y simple y sencillamente la calle Internacional. No las patrullan en la noche. Yo vivo en la Merla, está a espaldas de la avenida. En la noche, un día me levanté a las 3 de la mañana y parecía pista de carreras, como se oye. Jóvenes corriendo a altas velocidades. Están haciendo unos apartamentos, no sé si sea para ancianos o algo, o gente adulta, perdón. Ya soy yo uno de ellos. Y yo me dedico a la construcción, soy contratista, ¿verdad? Y hasta ahorita nunca me han dejado obstruir banquetas en mis construcciones. Y aquí en esta Internacional que están construyendo, está la banqueta obstruida, donde pasan estudiantes día tras día, de ida y vuelta, que viven por el área de Springfield y esas áreas. Tienen que bajar la banqueta cuando la mínima velocidad que bajan los carros por Internacional es de 40 a 45 millas. No puede uno dar vuelta a la izquierda si viene de la casa para ir al 35, porque los carros vienen volados y no se paran. Policías no veo. Las veces que he llamado a la policía, van, me levantan el reporte y les soy honesto, lo que me dicen, no puedo hacer nada. Estamos cansados de eso. No vemos patrullaje en nuestra comunidad.
Le vamos a contestar algunas de las preguntas que tenía sobre el bond primero,
Sí.
y las otras respuestas o concerns que estaba usted teniendo con los diferentes departamentos lo puede hacer aparte, ¿ok?
Claro que sí.
Sí, en cuestión, esos puntos en la cuestión de los comprobantes, para aclarar, toda transacción que ocurre en el municipio tenemos recibo. Así que, de hecho, tenemos un proceso donde usted como ciudadano puede peticionar, pedir esa información y se la proporcionamos. Y eso es algo que pasa a diario. Llegan esos...
Puedo hacer un comentario sobre eso. Y se lo dice el mayor. No hay comunicación con los oficiales, al menos a los oficiales que nos tocan.
Oficiales...
Por ejemplo, el concejal de nuestro precinto. Tengo 3 emails mandados con fotografías y ninguno contestado. Ninguno.
Pero estamos
Entonces,
refiriéndonos a qué puntos.
El distrito 7.
Sí, pero ¿qué puntos estamos hablando de?
Estamos hablando de problema de calles.
Bueno, eso
Yo no vi, permítame un segundo. Yo no vi en ese nombre de calles que pusieron ahí, distrito 7, ni Internacional, ni Superior Drive. Ahí hay unos pozos que en poco tiempo se van a hacer chapoteaderos, ¿verdad? Van, echan una mezcla, no sé si sea soquete o qué, pero el pozo está ahí todavía, ¿verdad? La hierba de las calles que están al lado de Internacional, crece así, parece selva. No se ve el sidewalk. He mandado correos con copia al mayor y con copia, porque se supone que la persona que es del precinto 7 tiene que estar al pendiente de su precinto.
De acuerdo.
¿Verdad?
Y esos son puntos que usted puede tocar con ellos, y si no, tiene esa oportunidad de presentarse durante las sesiones que tenemos cada 2 semanas, donde puede traer esos, ya si no se le está escuchando, puede presentar esas quejas, digamos, en la Junta. A lo que yo me refiero es la cuestión de los comprobantes de los gastos, como director de finanzas. Esos, si usted peticiona en la página web, nos peticiona esos gastos, encantados, tenemos toda esa información proporcionada. Pero sí tenemos cuenta de todo gasto que ocurre en el municipio.
Y los $20,000 del aumento y lo de la pensión, le digo, 4 años de servicio y una pensión de por vida, no creo que es justo.
Sí, bueno, de nuevo, toda esa información la podemos proporcionar, que no tiene nada que ver con lo del referéndum.
Es un espacio
ahorita.
público.
Sí.
Es un espacio público.
Sí, claro.
Sí,
de
claro
acuerdo.
que sí. Y todas sus respuestas que usted estaba preguntando sobre lo de la policía lo podemos hacer más aparte. Aquí tienen a todos los chiefs, a todos los jefes, pero queremos que las personas que tengan preguntas sobre lo que vamos a hacer de la votación,
Pues si tengo
es lo que estamos
preguntas-
haciendo.
Si tengo preguntas en eso es porque
Sí,
no tengo confianza.
Es lo que estamos,
no
es
tengo
lo que estamos
confianza en
tratando
lo que
de-
están diciendo.
Sí, no,
Sí,
le entendemos
¿verdad?
completamente.
Porque lo de los baches y eso no tiene 1 año ni tiene 2. ¿Verdad? Tengo 30 años viviendo en esa área.
Y aquí hay muchas personas que le pueden hacer esa respuesta para usted a cualquiera de esas preguntas. ¿Alguien más tiene alguna pregunta sobre lo de las votaciones? Sí, señor, por favor.
My question is regarding the traffic on the Mines Road. I know it falls under TxDOT.
Yes.
The infrastructure falls under TxDOT.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that on the north side, there's a development left and right. And I know people they're gonna have to go work on that side. My question is for the city, as far as, is there gonna be another exit from the Mines Road to I-35 under construction, or,
Mr. Chavez can answer that question. He's our city engineer.
yes?
Can I take it off? Good afternoon. Thank you for your question. So currently, TxDOT, with the assistance of the city, is constructing what we call State Highway 84, or Char Ruthinger Road. It's currently under construction, and that will be a connection between IH-35 and FM 1472. That is currently under construction.
On what areas are more or less?
Mile marker 13 and north of Green Ranch.
Okay. Is it just gonna be a road, or is it gonna be an overpass where traffic can go in and out, or? Because
That's,
excuse me,
yes.
because apparently if we just gonna put a traffic light there, you just moving one bottleneck from Mines Road to mile marker 13. I don't know what you all have in mind or planned, or.
So right now, that's the construction that's going on, okay? As it relates to Mines Road, TxDOT, we're going through a series of meetings that are open to the public, and I can provide you information as it relates to Mines Road and where you can look, so that you can continue to be informed on what the upgrades that we are looking at.
And real quickly, sir, because I know you're busy. You mentioned something about a PCI.
Yes, sir.
I'm a truck driver. Well, I'm retired now, but the industrial parks, and as far as infrastructure, it's not suitable for heavy equipment. I'm talking about Milo Industrial Park and as NAFTA, Grand Central. It's not only bad for the equipment, but for our backs as a truck driver, because I mean, they're just torn up. I don't know if they're not putting enough blacktop on the streets, or in the new industrial parks that are coming up, or here on the Mines Road. I don't know if you're gonna upgrade or go concrete or
So
blacktop.
yes, and sorry to interrupt you, but some of the things that we're looking at is like you just mentioned, going into concrete. So concrete roads have a longer lifetime span
Yes.
than of course asphalt. And so those are things that we're looking into. But yes, we have identified a lot of those, and we just mentioned some of them within the district: the Killam Industrial, the El Gato Road, the World Trade Center Road, and we've identified those where you could see that completely those roads are going to have to be reconstructed.
Real briefly, why is the city of Laredo allowing residential and commercial on the same areas. I mean, right now they're doing that Parkview or Palmview.
Yes.
They just made a humongous warehouse there off the loop and Mines Road, and now they're starting to do residential there.
So those are developer-driven, and so developers come in and
Isn't there a code there that enforces?
There is, and like I mentioned, sometimes they're developer-driven, and they request these zone change. Okay, they request these zone changes depending on the use or what their project is going to look like. But these are established by ordinance, zoning requirements.
I have friends that live on Green Ranch and trying to get out there in the daytime. Now they regret buying there. You know, as far back as traffic goes, right?
And that's something that we're looking, believe me, on a day-to-day basis. The timings on these signals and making sure that they're coordinated so that we can allow for the traffic to flow adequately.
Okay, I mean, that's all I got for now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Anybody else has any questions? Yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I want to start off by saying thank you, everybody, for being here today. I know it's, 8 p.m. You guys have a million things you'd rather be doing, right? But a quick question. So I know right now, a piece of wood may cost, what, $2, $3? In 3-4 years, it might cost $4 or $5. So right now, you guys have a budget of $480, right? In 2 years from now, 3 years, if you need more money, where would you guys get more money for this bond or this projects that you may need?
Yeah. So again, those monies that are being requested now is for those projects. Those are the estimates for those projects. In the future, as we move forward, if the amounts are in the scale of needing to go to the voters for another bond referendum, we will come to the voters as well.
Okay, so I'd ask for more money, I guess. And if, in the case, I don't think it's gonna happen, but if we do have money left over, where would that money go to? Everything's done, all the projects are completed, you all are more than happy with how everything turned out, have a couple million left, where would that money go?
That's unlikely. We can't spend it on anything else. We have to absolutely have very good estimates. And so when we bring these projects, the projects are going to be
Down the
pretty
dot.
solid down the dot,
Okay,
yes.
sounds good, that's all I
So-
have. Anyone else?
All right.
Thank you. So I feel like there seems to be a lot of people torn, the older demographics between the younger demographics. And really, I just have a couple questions to help me understand a little bit better. So someone mentioned here with Mr. Chavez, I believe you said 41% of the streets of the 856 miles need to be repaired. Now, out of this 41%, are they in a cluster? Are they scattered throughout the city? Is there phases? And if so, these phases, when will they be introduced? I'm sorry, and I could repeat that too if I didn't. I was just looking at my notebook.
So the streets that are in bad condition, they're in different areas throughout the city. And if you have a chance, I encourage you to just go and look at that interactive map that we have available online. And so you'll be able to see for yourself where these areas are. But they are scattered throughout the city. And so these are things that we will be looking at. We will be doing this in phases, of course, but we will be concentrating more on the ones that are in worst condition. But at the same time, trying to also, like I mentioned throughout my presentation, implement some of those preservation techniques that are available
Absolutely.
that work very efficiently.
Absolutely. I know that there's several. I know you mentioned that concrete and asphalt are going to be some of the methods used, and I know there's plenty more, and I'll leave that up to the experts. Now, you said you will start off with the ones that need the repair the most, and would there be somewhere where we can go identify after that has been identified by you?
Right, so that's information that we're utilizing this data that we have available. We're putting those projects together.
Great.
And again, as we move forward, we're gonna have to phase it out.
Sure.
There's no way we'll be able to do this in 1 year. That's why we did it. We're gonna do it in phases. These projects will be going out through the public as we move on and work on design development stages so that we can eventually construct them.
And so this is all brand new to me, right? And I want to make sure I'm educated. So these roads that are going to be built, after they're built, 41% of all of it, and they're going to be identified on that website. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Great. No, I think that was my other question, but I do have a couple other questions for someone else. You mentioned they're going to be phased out, and they're not going to start till next year. Do you have basically an estimated time so that way people could be aware? Because people don't like waiting. I understand good things take time, but people don't like waiting. So if so, like how fast will this information be, released after, if so, this bond were to be approved?
Right. First of all, it's going to depend on once it passes, and then once we go out and request this
Sure.
money, right? And once as money comes in, we're trying to get ahead of the game and try to
Yeah.
have these plans at our office shovel ready, that we call, so that as we start receiving these monies, we can start going out and looking out after these projects.
Can you explain to me what shovel ready is?
So shovel ready means that you have plans and specifications ready to go.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't want to leave them on the shelf, but
Yeah.
you have them ready there. Just you have the money, you pull them out, and they're ready to go. They've been designed, approved, and developed.
I think this is for a different topic, but for the Hamilton apartments, I think that's something that would be great to have ahead of time for people if that's something that wanted to get approved, because I believe someone's just putting a $10 million, and if someone were to see that, because I think you don't need to wait for that to get approved in order to have those plans, that would help with that. But thank you very much. I have a couple other questions here for other people, if that's okay. If not,
Thank you.
someone else has
Yes, go ahead.
a question.
Go ahead.
Great. So, for the fire department, you mentioned that there's currently a fire police station being under construction in Buena Vista, and that the last one was in 2003?
Yes, correct.
Awesome. And when is the estimated time that this fire station will be completed?
The one that we're requesting,
No, the one that's currently under construction.
the Buena Vista, that's supposed to be completed in summer of next year. The cadets that we have are already in training, and they're set to graduate in February. They were actually hired a year and a half ago. We started the process. It takes 2.5 years from when we give the test to graduate them. We actually are already in the hiring process for the fire station in the Unitech area, which that one is not set to be completed till the late 2026 or early 2027. That's how far ahead we see our projects, 3 to 4 years ahead of time.
I think this is just a suggestion, like a great video of all the different fire stations, how they're built, would be great as comparison from the old ones to the newest one. That's something that could really help the public understand about all the new technologies that you're missing out. Sometimes we put too many words out there and people get lost in the words, so that's why I believe video is really important. If you ever need any assistance with that, I'm happy to help. But Buena Vista is going to be under construction, Mines Road and Green Ranch. That's going to be for this bond. If it gets approved, then it'll go under construction, and that would be an estimated time of another 3 to 4 years.
So what the consultant identified is 3 stations.
Okay.
Buena Vista, Unitech, mile marker 15, Mines Road, and Green Ranch. In the bond, we strategically place when we would build the stations. The Mines Road, Green Ranch area we will start the construction 29 or 30, 29 to 30. So
Gotcha.
in front of it is a renovation of the fire stations that are like the one currently here in South Laredo too. We strategically place when we would start the construction, renovation, relocation, and that new station.
Now, with this one being in Buena Vista and being closer to the industrial parks, I believe, does that mean that a lot of this technology has to be geared more towards hazmat calls?
So you're talking about the Green Ranch over here, right?
Yeah, the Green Ranch.
Okay, so currently right now, we have one hazmat specialty station.
Gotcha.
Okay, but there's 2 substations. The old hazmat station was at in front of the Sam's, by the bingo area.
Yeah.
We recently moved the personnel and the equipment to this station right here. That is why I said this station was built for 2 emergency units, and now we put that new additional unit. So there's a hazardous material response team here, and also in the Unitech area is our hazardous material team 2. So we're strategically placing, because the needs here are more industrial. In South Laredo are more residential, more ambulances, different type of responses. So we strategically place those units in order for us to respond efficiently. Like I mentioned, the majority of our cars are medical, and then fire suppression. But then we have the specialty, hazmat, rescue units.
Yeah.
So we strategically place the units where we feel they're more effective. And just because we place them now doesn't mean that 5, 10 years from now we won't change and the chief of the future will come and do an analysis
I agree.
then and
Sure.
he'll change it.
Of course. Now, you also mentioned that you have to, rob Peter to pay Paul sometimes. How much time does that take, estimated based off your experience whenever another team has to cover for someone else and doesn't allow them to go back to their, standard operating?
So there's sometimes that, ideally, we should respond to every call between 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes the calls get extended and we respond 10 minutes. So right now, we go to certain areas in the city, here in the Mines Road area, sometimes we're taking 10 minutes, either for a fire or a medical call too. Now all our fire trucks are equipped with medical equipment, the basic, but all our firefighters, 90% of our firefighters are also medics. So
Yeah.
I usually always get asked, Chief, why does a fire truck go to a MVA or a medical call? In order to provide that quick service. It
Absolutely.
doesn't have to be the ambulance first too. So we've
Absolutely.
strategically done things in order for us to reduce that response time.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. Great, and I think that's all my questions I had for the fire departments. I really hope y'all get those improvements because we need it. Great, and I'm not sure who mentioned it, but someone said that there was other alternatives for the bonds, and if so, would those alternatives be presented before May 3rd, or is that something that gets presented after?
That, and more than likely, we have addressed that at the budget workshops, because it is about budgeting our funds and everything.
Absolutely.
The one thing that I wanted to be very careful of when we talk about alternatives, I don't want it to sound like if we don't do this,
Yeah.
then we're going to have to do this. My point within my presentation is that it's not going to get any cheaper tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And so there is no way, there's no such thing as really free money out there, and so we're going to have to cover it to some level.
I agree.
And so those alternatives, it ranges from a lot of different alternatives. It could be a prioritization of services as you go down through and say, these are the services we can continue to cover. If we weren't to build a new police station, then that means we're going to renovate the old police station. And my concern with renovating the old police station is if you look at what the model is of what they're trying to do, that police station will be built to what they need today to serve the community.
Absolutely.
If we renovate an old police station, it doesn't have the life expectancy and the time. They're responding out of
You're patching
wrong
holes in a
spaces.
sinking
Yeah.
boat.
And so those are the things, though, is that because most of these costs we're going to have to cover anyway, we're going to have to find a way to deal with the Hamilton Hotel.
Absolutely.
And we will go out there and do that. And we'll seek out grants and everything, but it may be a prioritization of how we spend our money. I think we didn't address this too much because we talked about this $417 million bond. This is the one that we take to the public and we talk about that. The city actually does about plus or minus $30 million bond every year. And we pay that off early as well too, and we rotate. That's at $198 million, $186 million that we talked about that we're carrying in the debt. We go out there and we borrow continuously anyway for that smaller stuff. But our challenges is that our needs are growing faster exponentially than it is what we can do within that structure. We've reduced the tax rate on that side for the bonding by 10 cents over the last 10 years. And we're actually, I think to one point, we're kind of proud that over the last 22 years, I think we dropped 23 cents on that side of the tax rate. But we need some of it back now because we've allowed the city to grow faster than what the needs were. And so those alternatives are out there. We'll go through that. We do a lot of different types of incentives, whether it be for trying to get something good that the city doesn't have. We talk a lot about the healthcare side of going. We don't have enough doctors, enough nurses. We don't have enough to take of that critical care. And I think that's where the chief talks about it with the fire department. We need to help try to make those things happen. I'm a firm believer that anybody wants to start a business in Laredo, they're going to be successful.
Absolutely.
As long as they have a good business plan. And so, but I think that's the nature. So those alternatives can come in a lot of different formats. I don't want to cloud the issue because this is the way we should actually come out to the public and say, these are the needs that we have. the alternatives, we will find a way for everything we can. I know that we talked about some of the capacity that we have within our current tax rate, and we can help police and fire that way, maybe streets, but we can't help public health, and we can't help community development. And I think that's where the city's looking at it as an all-encompassing process and saying, we're going to go together and we're going to try to make sure that we're taking care of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we wanna
we have
be
other departments that we'll have to work on
Sure.
maybe in 3 to 4 years or whatever to talk about all those needs as well.
And just like at a party, whenever you're serving yourself food, you don't want to go back for seconds and get embarrassed, right? So might as well ask as much as you can now and work with what
Yep,
you have.
I appreciate that, yeah. Yeah, Laredo's about food, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Well, that's all the questions I have. I do have a couple more here, but I don't want to hold on to the mic. I just enjoyed
And
this.
you're welcome to go to any of the tables. We'll be around for a little bit until you get out of here. We'll get you directly answered for some of those responses, so thank
Great.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. We will be standing by in case you have any additional questions. Thank you so much for coming on.